and welcome back to Be Here Now. Now today we're going on a bit of an adventure. We're going to be following this, the Manchester, Bolton and Bury Canal. It's an abandoned canal. A lot of it is in water, but a lot of it isn't. A lot of it's not even there anymore. It's got streets and houses over it. So my challenge today is I'm going to see how closely I can stick to its original route. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be trying to pick out little nuggets of history as we follow the beautiful Irwell Valley. So I'm following this canal in reverse really, because most of the traffic on it came from the hills up there in the Irwell Valley and came down here to this area, this lock here in Salford. Beyond that lock, the canal enters the River Irwell, and most of the traffic obviously brought the cargo down the canal to the Irwell, where it went wherever it was going. Just a quick note, this was all restored in 2008, and obviously you can see it looks like they're going to be building apartments here, so it's good timing really. It's nice to see this in a kind of derelict state before it just gets taken over by people. So let's go, let's see if we can find this canal. So I made it to Pendleton, and this beautiful stretch of canal here is where it re-emerges into existence. Beyond this towards Salford, it's just not there anymore. So I'm on the Manchester, Bolton and Bury Canal, like I say. It's 24.3 kilometres long, which is 15 miles and 1 furlong in old money. It has 17 locks along its route and 6 aqueducts. I'm going to be following it all the way. And this, you can sort of see the overgrowth. It is in water, but you can sort of see how it looks abandoned, and it's pretty much like this along most of its route. So the canal was built in 1791, and one of the major reasons it was built is because of all the collieries up and down the Irwell Valley. Loads of coal mines up there, one of which was here at Clifton Hall, just up over there on top of the hill. It's not there anymore, of course. As you can see, there's a railway line here. The canal's not in water anymore, but it's still here. The railway line there is the Manchester Bolton line, and it would play a major part in the 19th century in the demise of the canal. Now, working standards in the 19th century were never very good, and in 1885 there was a major explosion at the mine at Clifton Hall colliery, which led to the deaths of 177 miners. Now, what's horrible about this disaster is that the people who died weren't all grown men. There were some young boys amongst them as well working in the mine. Now, I've got some figures here I want to read out for you. 158 men and boys died in the mine itself, Trenchbone mine, from inhaling carbonic gas from burns and injuries like that. 9 more died in the tunnel from suffocation. 8 died at home, 7 of which died from shock to the system caused by burns, and 2 more died at Salford Hospital from burns too. Thankfully 10 men managed to survive, just 10 men, but they were trapped down there for 13 hours before they were rescued. But like I say, the colliery is closed down now. The only trace of it anywhere at all is this canal basin here behind me, where over there you can see those brick structures, like a brick wall kind of thing there. That would be where the tramway, there was a tramway from the colliery down to the canal, so that the coal could be easily transported down the hill. So part of the point of these videos is to look at what these historic things look like today, obviously. And you can see the canal has been taken over by industry along much of its length, like it was when it was built. But this is a very modern kind of industry, plastic recycling plant. And there's just mountains and mountains of plastic back there. which is horrible and frightening. And down there in the river as well, that's just inundated with plastic. So that's just the modern world, I suppose. It used to be coal, which was a horrible blight of the natural environment. Now it's plastic. So I've managed to squeeze behind all of the industry over there and Pilkinson's tiles to here, to Clifton Aqueduct, one of only 2 aqueducts remaining on the canal. And it's fantastic, and it's a grade 2 listed structure. And it was this point here behind me where the canal actually split. There was a minor little canal called Fletcher's Canal running all the way up the other side of the Irwell. But the aqueduct here is where the main canal crossed the Irwell. Down there, I don't know if you can see that down there, I'll point the camera in the right way anyway. And down here as well, you can see the grooves where they'd insert stop planks in order to drain the aqueduct. So I've just passed under the M60 motorway, the ring road, which is just there, that big bridge there. And it just occurred to me, out of all the structures built in the Irwell Valley over the years, that's probably the biggest. I mean, look at it, it's massive, it's monstrous. It's not very nice to look at either. However, it occurred to me, do you think in 100 years, or less than that, when we've got flying cars and hoverboards and teleportation and stuff, do you think people will be making videos about that thing? I don't know, maybe. So I lost the canal there for a little bit. There was a sewage plant and all sorts going on back there, but I found it again. I'm in the little village of Ringley, which is a very pretty little village, and as you can see, the River Irwell is down there, and this is the canal. The remains of the towpath can be seen down here, and look at all this wild garlic. It just smells amazing around here. So I've got a little ways to go before I get to the next point of call, which is Prestolee Aqueduct. So come on, let's crack on. Okay, so on this map, the route of the canal is shown in blue, and my route that I took is shown in yellow. From Pendleton, I was able to stick very close to the route of the canal actually, through Clifton Hall, all the way around to Clifton Aqueduct, then across to Ringley, past the old sewage plant there, and then all the way to Prestolee. So I'm on the Prestolee Aqueduct now, the second of the 2 remaining aqueducts along the canal, and we're crossing the River Irwell again. So this is a grade 2 listed structure as well. It's equally as beautiful as the Clifton one, but as you can see, this one has water in it. So Prestolee Aqueduct is there, we've got this little basin here, and then we've got that structure there, which is Prestolee locks, which is 3 sets of 2 staircase locks. Some people call it Prestolee locks. Some people call it after the little village, the little settlement at the top, which is the supremely named Nob End. So, for the purposes of humour, I'm going to be calling it Nob End locks. So here at Nob End, the canal splits in 2. One part goes to Bolton and the other part goes to Bury. First I'm going to be going up the Bolton arm because I want to see how much of that is left, and then I'm going to be turning around, coming back on myself and going towards Bury, where I'll finish. I've come to the end of the branch towards Bolton. It did obviously go all the way to the town centre, a couple more miles, but you can kind of follow it as well on a footpath, the old route, most of the way, but I can't be bothered because there's not much to see down there and it's a bit uninteresting. So I'm going to head back that way. That's the way I've just come. As you can see, there's a lot of restoration going on around here, a lot of workmen doing things. It's going to look really nice, I think, when they've done that. So back towards Bury. It's a long way and we'll see what we can see. I don't know if this is the original place for this, but there's a nice little marker stone here. You can see it says L&Y RYC, Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Company. The canal came into their possession later on in the 19th century. Alright, getting heckled. Right, so I'm back at Nob End. I like saying that. And from here you can see the Irwell Valley, just up there. Look at that, what a cracking little valley. You can see the kind of the right angle turn it takes from the city centre coming up that way, and then turns here at Prestolee or Nob End and up that way towards Bury. So we're going to have a look up there. So there've been quite a few breaches or collapses of the canal over the years, only very small ones really, all caused by the coal mining that was going on underground, sort of disturbing the structure of the canal. Now, to try and tackle that, the railway company that owned the canal bought a lot of the coal underground under the canal to try and stop the coal companies just mining it. So the biggest breach of the canal happened in 1936 here, just after Nob End locks on the Bury arm of the canal, and you can see behind me the land just slipped away, sending millions of gallons of water into the River Irwell down there, followed by obviously the land, the rubble and the stones, which ended up damming the river and causing it to flood a little bit. So let me read you a little extract from a Manchester Evening News article which was written at the time. This is a quote from a Mr. John W. Martin of Loxham Street in Bolton, and he said, "I was cycling along the bank when I suddenly saw signs of subsidence begin on a bend in the canal. I could not stop, and my only chance was to ride furiously along the 2 feet of earth which remained. As I passed over, the earth fell away behind the back wheel of my bicycle and I was thrown off. The noise was deafening." The collapse here ended up being another nail in the coffin for the canal. It was never repaired. They decided that it just wasn't worth it. The traffic on here had already fallen anyway, thanks to the railway. So they just never repaired it. And the Bury arm ended up being cut off from the rest of the canal because of this. It was still used over the years, but it fell into disuse eventually, and as did the rest of the canal. So I'm at the bottom of the breach now, and you can see totally the scale of the land that slipped away, and there's evidence of it here. Just look at that, just big boulders of bricks that just collapsed down from the side of the canal. It's just a huge gash in the land, and it's, you know. So after the Clifton Hall mine explosion, which I told you about before, it was decided that it was a pretty bad idea to have open flames down coal mines, particularly when you've got a lot of coal dust and potential for gas leakages. Where I am now though, used to be somewhere called Ladyshaw Colliery, and that became infamous for having the distinction of being the last coal mine in Britain to use open flames and candles. Now all this came about because the owner, Mr. Fletcher, refused. He just didn't want anything to do with the new law, the new regulations. He just didn't care. He didn't care about the safety of his workers, basically. So he just fought it and fought it and fought it, and he was taken to inquest and taken to court and appealed, and eventually was fined and caved in. So another Grade 2 listed structure along this canal is this steam crane. It's the Mount Sion steam crane, and it's a rarity. It's one of only a few that still remain. In fact, I might be wrong, it might be the only one that remains, I'm not sure. And what it'd do, it'd unload stuff from the barges on the canal and drop it down into the yard down there. That was the Mount Sion bleach works down there. Built in about 1875, 1880, around that time. So at the end of the 19th century and through to the start of the 20th century, a lot of the coal mines in the Irwell Valley just simply closed down. On top of that, you've got the growth of the railways, which obviously superseded the canals in many a way, and breaches like the 1936 breach, which was never repaired. All this just added up, and the canal just slowly declined in use. It was eventually abandoned in 1961. And of course, it's kind of sad in a way that canals have got abandoned and built over and lost a little bit. This one, a lot of it is still in water, and a lot of it is still publicly accessible. And it's beautiful. It goes through some beautiful farmland and countryside back there. Unfortunately, I think they are actually planning to restore this. They keep saying that all over the internet. It keeps saying, oh, it's going to be restored, but the date keeps getting put back, so you never know. Hopefully it will be one day, and we'll see canal boats on here again. Anyway, I've come to the end of my line. I've come to the end of my routes today. This is as far as the canal goes. You can follow that path on and it'll just go to Rhodes and into Bury. I'm about 1 kilometre from Bury. So that's it. I've come to the end. There's nothing here to signal it's the end. There's no great grand structure to look at. There's nothing. This is just it in the middle of nowhere. So that's it. I hope you liked the video. A very brief look at the history of this great canal. What I'm going to do now is cycle back along an abandoned railway line not far from here. That's going to be another video. Yeah, if you've got any suggestions, anything you want me to look at, it doesn't have to be a cycle route like this or a walk or anything. It could just be a single historical thing. It doesn't have to be in Manchester either. It could be anywhere. Yeah, I'm totally up for that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, see you later.